Okay, let's unpack this. We are stepping into a territory today that is incredibly personal, deeply sensitive, and frankly, almost universally overlooked. We're going to be addressing the noticeable change in scent that often comes with advanced age, particularly for men over 70.
And this is so important because it's not just about hygiene in the simple sense.
No.
It's really about the silent shift that affects millions of people. It connects directly to self-confidence, to dignity, and, to how they are perceived in the world.
Right. And we need to be crystal clear from the start. This is not about being unclean or about neglect.
Absolutely not.
This is about physical changes colliding with habits that have worked for 50, maybe 60 years, and suddenly they just don't anymore.
And that's the core of it.
Yeah.
Our mission in this deep dive is to get past the natural discomfort around the topic and really analyze the underlying causes.
Of why behind it.
Exactly. What we're discussing is the complex result of these inevitable physiological shifts, meeting these very subtle, often unnoticed lapses in decades-old routines.
And when those routines stop working, the individual himself is often the last to know.
He doesn't realize it until maybe someone else points it out, which can be, as you can imagine, just profoundly humiliating.
Yeah, that's the scent that the wearer is the last person, if ever, to notice. So our goal here is, let's say, surgical. We want to provide clarity, some scientific grounding, and some incredibly actionable knowledge.
Right.
This deep dive is fundamentally about maintaining self-possession. It's about ensuring that the dignity a man has earned over a lifetime isn't compromised by something so insidious.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you see that these routines that worked perfectly for decades start to fail because the operating system of the body has changed.
The operating system, I like that analogy.
Yeah. We can really summarize the whole challenge under 4 distinct physical facts of aging. And these 4 facts create, a perfect storm for persistent odor.
Okay, let's break those down in detail because understanding the why is the foundation for the how to fix it.
Absolutely. So the first fact is that the skin itself begins to trap odor longer.
What does that mean, trap odor?
As we age, cell turnover slows down. We all develop a slightly thicker, less efficient outer layer of skin. This means old skin cells, the oils on our skin and, the bacterial waste products, they just cling more tenaciously to the surface before they're shed.
So it's stickier on a microscopic level.
In a way, yes. They form a kind of biological boundary layer that holds onto scent molecules for much longer than it did when you were, say, 30.
So even with a thorough wash, the skin itself is holding on to the chemical signature of that odor more aggressively.
Precisely, which brings us to the second physical change.
Okay.
And it's the simple yet profound reality of mobility issues.
The slow creep of arthritis, stiff joints.
Exactly, the little things. This makes effective hygiene physically difficult. Man might think he's achieving a full range of motion, but if his internal shoulder rotation or his lumbar flexibility is compromised by just 10 or 20 degrees,
Which he might not even notice.
you wouldn't. But a simple act like reaching to properly dry his back or thoroughly clean himself after using the restroom, it becomes a struggle for proper leverage. He's expending more energy for a much less effective result.
Which feeds right into the third point, which I think is just the most cruel irony of all of this.
The sense of smell.
Sense of smell naturally weakens.
It does. Olfactory sensors, the receptors in your nose, they just degrade with age. The clinical term for it is presbyosmia.
Presbyosmia.
And since the smell is constant and coming from his own body, the brain does what it's designed to do. It habituates.
It just tunes it out.
Right. It's a process called olfactory adaptation. So you have this combination. The source of the scent is internal and constant. The ability to detect new smells is diminished, and the brain is actively ignoring the smell anyway. The result is the wearer is completely oblivious.
While everyone else whose senses are still sharp notices it immediately when they walk in the room.
Immediately.
Okay, and the fourth physical context.
Dampness. Dampness lingers on the skin for longer.
Why is that?
It relates to changes in thermoregulation and vascularity, your circulation. In your youth, sweat and shower moisture, they evaporate pretty quickly. The body's heat engine is just more robust.
Right.
As we age, that process slows down. Moisture remains trapped in folds of skin under the arms and the groin area for much longer periods.
And moisture is the key ingredient.
It's paradise for odor-causing bacteria and fungi. A warm, hospitable, nutrient-rich environment for them to just proliferate.
So when you combine all four of these physical facts, skin holding odor, difficulty reaching, the inability to smell the odor, and moisture just hanging around, it completely transforms these seemingly insignificant bathroom habits.
You become massive contributors to a very distinctive body odor.
Our sources for this deep dive are, let's just say they're blunt, they're scientific, and they're designed to tackle this challenge head on.
We've isolated 5 distinct areas of routine and environment that we're going to walk through. We'll move from the most personal hygiene practices to, the materials and the rooms that impact scent.
And we want to make sure we're giving you actionable solutions for each one.
Exactly.
And before we jump into the first segment, let me just reiterate the teaser. The 5th habit we're going to cover involves the one product many older men introduce specifically to combat smell. And we're going to show you why that product often chemically compounds the issue, making the situation much, much worse than if they'd done nothing at all.
It's a fascinating twist.
It is. So let's start with the silent struggle mini-face. Segment 1. This begins with a topic that is, it's highly sensitive. It's one that no one really discusses openly.
Bathroom.
Achieving effective cleanliness after using the toilet. Why do men who have been doing this for 7 or 8 decades just assume they still have mastery over it when the physical realities of their body are, as you said, actively working against them?
Well, the assumption is just so deeply rooted in routine and, frankly, in pride.
Of course.
Men assume because they're physically strong in other areas, they can still drive, they can still fix things in the house, manage their finances, that this simple mechanical task remains unchanged. But as we discussed, hygiene effectiveness is a function of flexibility.
And flexibility is often the first thing to degrade quietly.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the biomechanics here because this is fascinating. We're looking at the combined impact of stiffness, maybe some mild osteoporosis, and particularly arthritis.
For thorough cleaning, you need a surprisingly high degree of internal rotation in your shoulder.
Never even heard that.
And you need flexible torsion in your lumbar spine, your lower back. When you factor in the stiffness that comes from, say, sitting for extended periods, driving, watching TV, that necessary, comfortable range of movement is significantly diminished.
So they might only be reaching, 70% of the area they need to?
Something like that.
Right.
But because they feel the effort of reaching, they assume the effectiveness is still there. They mistake effort for result.
And that incomplete cleaning is then compounded by changes in elimination itself.
Yes. This is a huge factor. Diet shifts, maybe reduced fluid intake, and crucially, the side effects of very common medications.
Blood pressure meds, cholesterol meds.
Blood thinners. All of them can lead to softer stools or chronic digestive changes. Now, dry toilet paper is designed for an ideal, firm elimination. When it's faced with anything softer or stickier, dry paper doesn't clean. It just smears the residue over a larger surface area.
The tool is no longer right for the job.
The tool is wrong for the new reality. And add to that the common, often mild issue of trace dribbling. This happens due to an age-related weakening of the pelvic floor, particularly after you've been sitting for a long time.
So if we look at the physics of this residue, what's happening to it?
Okay, so the traces left behind are mostly hydrophilic. It's a fancy word, but it just means they bond with the water and oil on the skin. Dry paper just struggles to break those chemical bonds.
And that tiny amount of residue then transfers where?
Instantly to the underwear. It begins to cling to the skin, which, as we already established, holds odor longer. And it just rapidly becomes a breeding ground for bacteria.
And because the man's own sense of smell is weakened, this lingering odor, which is essentially trapped residue starting to decompose, goes completely unnoticed by him.
Completely. Yeah. But it permeates his clothing, it gets into the fabric of the chair he sits in, the car seat, and the air around him.
This is where we can look at the case of Mr. Robbins, the 74-year-old truck mechanic.
A perfect example.
This is a man whose hands could calibrate a massive engine. He just embodied competence and strength.
Right.
But his daughter noticed the scent immediately when she'd visit. And Mr. Robbins realized, and it was a painful realization, that his incredible physical ability and his core task being a mechanic, it just did not translate to the necessary flexibility for effective personal hygiene.
He was compensating for a limited range of motion, and he was failing to achieve real cleanliness. And he had no idea.
That anecdote just perfectly encapsulates the need for a shift in perspective here. Using a tool isn't a sign of weakness.
It's an investment in effectiveness.
Yes. The goal is to update the process to match your current physical reality.
And what's really fascinating here is that the simplest solutions are often the most powerful and, importantly, low cost. They restore that crucial baseline of cleanliness.
Okay, so let's get into what we're calling the dignity fix. It starts with the absolute simplest change.
Moist wipes.
Just moist wipes.
It's that simple. They contain emollients and water, which dramatically improve the ability to lift and clean residue rather than just smearing it. They provide a final, effective cleanup pass.
But the truly transformative solution, especially for men who are really struggling with arthritis or severe stiffness, is something else.
The low-cost bidet attachment.
And we need to completely dismantle the perception that a bidet is some kind of, European luxury appliance.
It's not.
Yeah.
You can buy effective non-electric attachments for less than the price of a takeout dinner for two. They're incredibly simple.
I think detailing how they work is important because a lot of people have never used one.
Of course. So, most of them are just simple attachments that fit directly under your existing toilet seat. They use a directed spray of water to clean you thoroughly. And that requires virtually zero physical strain or range of motion.
And the control. For men who might worry about placement or pressure,
the water is controlled by a simple knob, usually positioned right at hip height, so it requires minimal bending or reaching. This completely eliminates the necessity of twisting and reaching.
And making this choice represents a major mental shift.
It's huge. It's not about giving up. It's about choosing efficiency and guaranteeing cleanliness.
And what about for those who can't install an attachment or maybe require assisted cleaning?
There are also specialized long-handled hygiene tools. They're designed specifically to extend your reach safely and effectively.
The psychological payoff of knowing definitively that you are truly clean, regardless of your physical limitations, that must be immense.
It is. That feeling of self-possession, it projects outwards. It changes how you carry yourself.
Because if that first layer of personal hygiene is compromised, if that residue is present, then everything else we're going to discuss today.
Clean clothes, deodorant, everything.
It all becomes just an attempt to cover up a foundational issue. You have to start with a genuinely clean slate.
You have to.
And if that compromise leads to residue clinging to fabric, as it inevitably does, that brings us directly to segment 2.
The underwear problem.
Yes. This garment is arguably the single most important item of clothing when it comes to personal scent management.
Absolutely. The underwear is the first line of defense, but it's also the first point of contamination.
Our source material highlights something called the 2-3 day habit.
It's very common among older men, particularly those who live alone. And the rationale is, on the surface, compelling to them.
I just sat on the sofa all day.
I didn't sweat, I didn't go anywhere poured, so it's fine.
But this logic completely neglects the fundamental physiology of the aging body.
It does. Let's talk about the accumulation process within the fabric itself, because it's really a microbial buffet just waiting to happen.
Okay, so there are 4 main factors that conspire here. What's the first one?
First is just the inevitable accumulation of natural body oils and shed skin cells. These are being produced constantly, even if you're just sitting still.
And these are the food source.
The primary food source for odor-causing bacteria.
Okay, what's second?
Second, as we discussed, sweat and moisture evaporation slow down with age. This traps water inside the fabric fibers, creating a damp little microclimate. And that dampness acts like a petri dish incubator.
It accelerates the growth.
Exponentially. Third, connecting back to our last segment, any minor dribbles or those residual fecal traces, they soak directly into the fabric. This provides a nutrient-rich culture medium for bacteria to just explode.
And fourth?
Fourth is you combine all of that in a warm, tight, damp, and nutrient-rich environment.
The groin area.
The groin area. Bacteria thrive exponentially in these conditions. After just 24 hours, the bacterial load on that fabric is astronomical. It's exponentially higher than what was there right after you showered.
Which leads us to what our research calls the shower paradox.
Yes, this is so critical. A man can step out of the shower feeling and smelling perfectly clean. He's washed away all the surface bacteria.
He's reset the clock.
He thinks he has. Then he puts on a pair of old 2-day worn underwear.
And what's he just done?
He has instantly inoculated his fresh skin with an enormous established colony of bacteria and concentrated odor molecules from the previous days. The clean body becomes scented again instantly.
The story of Harvey, the 82-year-old veteran from Arizona, just tragically confirms this.
It does. Harvey was rigorous about his morning shower. He was very disciplined, but he was isolated and he'd fallen into that 2-day habit.
And he had no idea.
None. It wasn't until a nurse had to deal with some soiled laundry that the issue was finally addressed. And the key here is that he wasn't personally dirty. His garment was the source of the persistent, built-up odor.
And that distinction is so vital for dignity. The problem is the material, not the person.
Exactly.
So the solution here is twofold. It's behavioral and it's material.
The behavioral part is simple. It's non-negotiable.
Change your underwear every single day, no exceptions.
No exceptions. But let's dive into the material science, because this is where the real deep dive insight is.
Okay.
Many older men rely on thick, decades-old cotton garments.
The classic white briefs.
The classic.
Yeah.
And cotton is porous and highly hydrophilic. It loves and holds onto water, sweat, and oils. It's like a sponge.
So once it gets saturated, it takes forever to dry.
Right. It keeps the groin area warm and damp, which perpetually feeds the bacteria. Cotton fibers are like tiny little sponges that just lock those odor molecules into place.
So what's the actionable garment fix?
Switching to performance materials, we're talking about breathable, moisture-wicking, synthetic materials.
Like what? What should people look for?
Blends containing, say, micropolyester, nylon, or sometimes bamboo or merino wool blends.
And the science behind that is?
The science is clear. These materials are designed to be hydrophobic. They repel water. They pull moisture away from the body. That's the wicking part.
So they dry quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Which effectively starves the odor-producing bacteria of the moisture they need to multiply so rapidly.
It's also essential to replace old, stretched-out fabric, right?
Yes, because once those cotton fibers are compromised and permanently stretched, they lose their shape and they hold on to accumulated oils and bacteria forever, even after a hot wash.
So switching to modern, quick-drying underwear isn't a luxury.
It's a necessary hygiene update that actively disrupts the bacterial breeding environment.
It's a direct investment in maintaining that standard of presence. The difference this makes to others who are sensitive to odor must be instantaneous.
It's the second foundational pillar of cleanliness. If you are clean from the bottom up and the clothes you put on are truly fresh, you eliminate the massive odor source that otherwise clings to you all day long.
Okay, so that's the body and the first layer of clothing. But our third segment shifts entirely. We're moving from the person to the environment.
The bathroom air that clings to you.
This is the quietest culprit, the source of what we're calling transfer odor that silently contaminates everything you use to get clean.
Most people focus only on the skin when they're dealing with scent. They completely overlook the environment in which they prepare their body.
We're talking about pervasive dampness and the air quality in the bathroom. A hot shower feels great, it's restorative, but it creates a steam cloud.
It super saturates the air. And if that moisture is not evacuated, it becomes the catalyst for mildew and sour bacteria.
And that moisture, it has to go somewhere. It settles into everything absorbent in the room.
Think about all the surfaces, the ceiling, the grout lines, sure, but most importantly, the textiles.
The bath mat.
The bath mat, the washcloths, the towels hanging on the hook, the shower curtain, even clothes you might have hung on the back of the door.
And when these items stay damp for prolonged periods,
they are actively cultivating sour bacteria and mildew. This is what manifests as that musty, basement-like odor.
So if you can smell that musky scent in the air when you walk into the bathroom,
it means the bacteria and the mold spores are thriving. They're airborne. And they're actively settling on everything, just waiting to be transferred back to you.
And the critical contamination cycle here is, it's deceptively simple.
Very. You complete a thorough shower, you've achieved temporary cleanliness, but then you reach for a towel.
A towel that hasn't dried properly since yesterday, a towel that smells faintly sour or moldy.
And that bacteria and mildew odor is transferred instantly. It's rubbed right back onto your clean skin and into your hair.
It's essentially a form of reverse hygiene.
That's a great way to put it. You spend 10 minutes washing off oils and bacteria, and then in 30 seconds of drying, you inoculate yourself with the environmental funk.
This has to be particularly bad in older homes or apartments with pool ventilation.
Exactly. Places where moisture can linger for hours and hours.
The case of Frank, 76, from Ohio, is a classic example of this.
It is. Frank's bathroom looked tidy. The tiles were wiped down, the sink was clean. But his humidity control was non-existent.
He had no ventilation.
He had a fan, but he never used it properly. His towels were always bunched up on a single hook, so they never fully dried. His bath mat was a perpetual swamp.
And he didn't notice the smell.
Olfactory adaptation again. He never noticed, but his guests did. That environmental odor was clinging to his clothes and his skin.
Okay, so the fix here is systemic. It's about fighting moisture retention. What's the most common error?
Impatience. Impatience with the ventilation system. People step out of the shower, they see the mirror is clear, and they immediately turn off the fan.
That's a mistake.
A huge mistake. The fan needs to run for a minimum of 20 minutes after the shower is complete.
20?
That's the time required to pull the excess moisture out of the air and off the surfaces. If you have a window, crack it open, even slightly. Cycle some dry air into the room. This single action starves the mildew and the sour bacteria.
And then we have to address the lemons themselves.
Yes. Bath mats are high-capacity, floor-level moisture traps. Because they're thick and they're pressed against the floor, they almost never fully dry out.
So they need to be washed, what, weekly?
More, twice a week is often necessary, or just replace them entirely every few months, depending on the use.
And crucially, towels and washcloths must be hung spread out.
Do not hang them bunched up on a hook. You have to maximize their surface area exposure to the airflow.
And how often should they be washed?
If they're used daily, a minimum of twice a week. You cannot expect a towel that has been saturated in damp for 20 hours to just magically dry itself without some help.
This is a non-negotiable step in achieving long-lasting, true cleanliness.
It is. If your bathroom air and your linens are fresh, then the air that clings to you and the material you use to dry yourself will also be fresh. This environmental control ensures the hard work you did in the shower actually pays off.
Okay, so we've covered the body, the clothes, and the environment. Now we shift back to personal products in segment 4.
The deodorant mistake that ages you instantly.
This covers 2 key and I think almost universal errors regarding underarm hygiene for older gentlemen.
The first error is the simple, subtle slip. It's the unintentional stopping of deodorant or antiperspirant use altogether.
Right. As activity levels drop and maybe sweating seems less prominent, the belief sets in that I don't need it anymore.
Or that a daily shower is sufficient on its own.
But here's the critical scientific nuance that they're missing. The composition of body odor changes drastically after age 70.
It does, and we need to introduce the specific culprit here. A chemical called non-retinol. Specifically, 2-non-netyl. It's an unsaturated aldehyde. And it is the primary chemical compound responsible for what is often colloquially termed the old person's smell.
And this is not caused by sweat.
No, this is key. It's not caused by bacterial sweat breakdown like typical body odor. It's caused by the oxidative breakdown of specific fatty acids on the skin.
Which fatty acids?
Notably, palmitoleic acid. So, as the body ages, the natural skin oils or lipids, they become more prone to oxidation, especially in high fatty acid areas like the underarms and the chest.
So the oils on your skin literally start to rust in a way.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
When these fatty acids oxidize, they break down into non-alanol. And this chemical has a very distinct, often described as a grassy, waxy, or greasy odor.
And here's why a daily shower with regular soap is insufficient.
Right. Non-alanol is not water-soluble. It's oil-soluble. So while a shower can temporarily wash some of it away, the process of fatty acid oxidation is continuous.
It just keeps happening.
Within hours of drying off, new non-hequinol is forming, producing that persistent low-level scent that regular soap just cannot entirely counteract over the course of a full day.
This brings us to the second common mistake, the loyalty mistake.
Remaining fiercely loyal to the same stick of deodorant they've been using since the 1970s.
And that product might have only been designed to handle young, fresh sweat, which is mostly protein and water.
Right. It was not designed to handle the complex oil-based non-hequinol odor of advanced age. It's a different chemical problem.
So aging skin chemistry requires stronger, more targeted support.
It needs a product designed for intense odor neutralization and wetness control. Crucially, older men often need an antiperspirant plus deodorant combination.
Explain the difference.
Deodorant masks scent, and it handles bacteria. Antiperspirant actively reduces wetness by temporarily blocking sweat glands. And wetness is the prime catalyst for both bacterial growth and non-hequinol formation. You need to tackle both.
And the formulation itself needs to be more robust.
It needs to be long-lasting, leveraging modern chemistry to combat this persistent oxidation process.
This is why we have to specifically critique the growing popularity of so-called natural deodorants in this specific context.
Yes. While they can be wonderful for many people, for this particular challenge, they often fall short. They usually rely solely on masking agents like essential oils.
And they lack the key ingredient for wetness?
They lack the aluminum compounds that are necessary for true antiperspirant function. And they often don't contain strong enough antibacterial agents to counteract the robust bacterial growth and non-fetal production we see in older adults. For skin dealing with these dual challenges, a more robust, chemistry-driven product is often essential.
The anecdote about Mr. Halpern, the 81-year-old retired school principal, just drives this point home perfectly.
It really does. He was meticulous about his appearance, but he was driven by this desire for a cleaner product, so he switched to a weaker natural deodorant.
And his family noticed immediately.
They noticed a distinct, pervasive odor. The moment he went back to a stronger, modern, antiperspirant deodorant hybrid, the odor vanished. The natural product just couldn't handle the chemical challenge of his aging skin.
This raises an important question then. Is the product choice based on addressing the physiological reality, or is it based on, a trend or a fashion?
Exactly. The choice of product now becomes a targeted hygiene measure. Making this small, informed change, swapping out the old stick for a modern, high-efficacy formula, can have a massive difference on social perception and on the man's personal sense of cleanliness and confidence.
It's truly fascinating how something so small, a targeted swipe under the arm, can dictate your perceived freshness and self-possession for an entire day. It's directly counteracting a biological change, like non-christianal production.
It's working smarter, not just harder.
Okay, now we arrive at segment 5, the air freshener trap.
The most surprising truth.
This is the counterintuitive habit that often makes the underlying problem significantly worse. And it involves the item older men often rely on most heavily to fix a suspected smell.
The irony here is so powerful. The attempt to fix the symptom actively compounds the disease.
What's the reaction?
When older men become either subconsciously or consciously aware of an environmental or a personal odor, their immediate reaction is often to grab an air freshener, a fabric spray, a strong chemical cleaner designed to introduce a heavy scent.
The can of lemon spray.
Exactly. But air fresheners and most of these general chemical sprays, they do not neutralize the odor sources.
So what do?
They simply introduce powerful, volatile organic compounds, VOCs, that attempt to overpower the existing scent. They lay a chemical blanket on top of it.
And when you introduce that strong artificial chemical layer,
it mixes disastrously with the underlying sources of odor that we have spent this entire deep dive detailing.
The mildew from poor ventilation,
the residual sweat and urine traces from incomplete cleaning,
old fabrics,
and that persistent non-nuttal odor from the skin.
The result is what we're calling the compound odor.
Yes. It's not just the smell of an active hygiene problem. It's that smell plus a suffocating cloud of fake lemon or synthetic linen or pine.
And that combination is universally recognizable to outsiders as an attempt to conceal a deeper problem.
It smells artificial, heavy, and often much worse than the original, more neutral scent would have. It flags to anyone entering the room that the source of the hygiene lapse is still thriving, but now it's coated in this chemical haze.
The case of George, 78, is the perfect example here.
His entire home smelled strongly of this cloying, sickly sweet lemon spray. But underneath that chemical layer is a potent mix of damp floors from an old, saturated bath mat and a slow, persistent leak around the base of his toilet.
And his daughter confirmed the overwhelming lemon scent didn't smell clean.
No, she said it smelled like it was hiding something awful.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second, though. Isn't some scent better than no scent? Especially if the goal is just temporary social acceptability while you're waiting for a repair or while you're building a new hygiene routine? Isn't a mild lemon overlay sometimes better than the distinct smell of mildew?
That's a fair challenge, but the chemistry really argues against it. And the reason is dilution and recognition. The human nose is remarkably good at separating natural smells, like mildew or biological decay, from synthetic smells.
Okay.
When the two mix, the brain processes them as a warning signal. It's the smell of decay mixed with aggressive perfume. It screams contamination, whereas a faint natural odor on its own might just be dismissed as stale air.
So by introducing the spray, you're actually amplifying the problem's visibility. You're putting a spotlight on it.
You're drawing attention to it, which reframes the entire purpose of cleaning.
It does.
The solution reversal is critical. George only achieved true cleanliness when he stopped spraying altogether.
He focused on the cause.
He focused on the root cause. He fixed the plumbing leak. He replaced the saturated baseboards and floor tiles. He ensured proper ventilation, and he replaced all the old porous towels.
And the lemon spray became unnecessary.
Instantly unnecessary, because the fundamental underlying odor was gone.
The core philosophy here is simple but profound, and it has to be adhered to. Clean always beats covered.
Always. If you require a secondary superficial scent product to make yourself or your living space smell fresh, it is absolute proof that you have not successfully addressed the primary source of the problem.
And the final implication here is huge.
It is. True cleanliness requires treating the bathroom as an environment that needs deep maintenance. The ventilation, addressing the plumbing, deep cleaning porous materials, ensuring adequate drying before you ever introduce any scent products.
Relying on sprays is a form of learned helplessness.
It is. Fixing the foundation is the only sustainable, dignified solution.
We have completed a comprehensive and I think very candid and essential deep dive into 5 sensitive, critical areas. Areas that profoundly impact how older men smell and, more importantly, how they feel about their presence in the world. These are not minor corrections.
No, these are dignity habits that restore confidence.
So let's review the 5 direct, actionable steps you can implement starting today. These are all designed to counteract the physiological changes of aging we've been discussing.
Let's do it.
Okay, starting with what we termed the mobility challenge, the absolute foundation of cleanliness.
Use moist wipes or install a low-cost bidet. This gives you cleaner results with much less physical effort. It bypasses the limitations of stiffness and ensures effective, thorough cleaning.
Second, the underwear problem.
Wear fresh underwear daily and critically, regularly replace old, stretched cotton pairs. Switch to breathable, quick-drying, moisture-wicking synthetic materials to starve the bacteria.
Third, addressing the quietest culprit, the bathroom air.
Ventilate the bathroom relentlessly. Run that exhaust fan or open a window for a full 20 minutes after every single shower. Prevent mildew and sour bacteria from ever getting a foothold in your linens and your environment.
Fourth, the deodorant mistake.
Switch to a modern, stronger antiperspirant plus deodorant combo. Look specifically for formulations that support aging skin chemistry and actively target that oxidation process that creates non-phenol odor.
And finally, addressing the air freshener trap.
Thoroughly clean the bathroom and address the root moisture causes. Fix the plumbing, deep clean the porous materials before you ever introduce any superficial scents. Fix the cause, not the symptom.
These habits profoundly affect not just physical cleanliness, but self-perception and how others relate to you.
And understanding why something is happening, that it's physical changes and outdated routines, not some kind of moral neglect, that is the powerful first step toward reclaiming self-possession.
The knowledge you've gained here is, I think, immensely valuable. It ensures that your presence is felt positively in every room you enter.
It is.
This isn't just about correcting a small oversight, it's about investing in your comfort and your social grace.
This knowledge is earned, and it's valuable for self-respect. It's about creating a legacy of confidence. It's about ensuring that the only thing people perceive when you enter a room is your intellect, your character, and your presence, not an odor.
So what does this all mean? It means you are fully equipped to feel confident, respected, and completely in control of your self-presentation, regardless of the physical changes that come with age.
Take care of your body, your home, and your spirit. These tools empower you to live better.
Thank you for joining us for this candid and I think crucial deep dive. We respect you for exploring these personal topics with us.
Until next time.